No telescope on Earth saw them arrive. The first sign was gravity itself groaning tiny fluctuations that confused every satellite. Then came the blot in the sun, an artificial eclipse that stretched wider than the moon. When the shadow moved, astronomers finally realized it was not one object but thousands of ships arranged in concentric rings around the planet. 9,900 in total, each a floating continent of alloy and I don't flame, the United Earth Defense Network had trained for invasion since the discovery of exoplanetary radio bursts in 2041, but no simulation matched this. By the time radar confirmed mass entry, the ships were already in low orbit. They moved with mathematic precision, forming a lattice that covered the stratosphere. For 6 hours, they only watched. Cities stared upward, billions filming the impossible. The sky a quilt of moving night. At T13:00 for UTC the silence ended. Every major power's satellites were blinded simultaneously by a coded pulse. Communications fell apart within minutes. The pulse wasn't mere jamming, it rewrote software, burning itself into firmware like a living virus. Air traffic collapsed. Nuclear command links went dead. For the first time since 1962, the world's arsenals were blind and mute. When the first descent began over the Pacific, sensors counted 300 craft dropping through cloud. Each measured nearly 2 kilometers across, shaped like a trilobite of black glass. They shed plasma as they fell, igniting the atmosphere into auroras over the ocean. Battleships of the Pacific Defense Fleet fired interceptors, but the alien hulls swallowed kinetic rounds as if they were snowflakes. Impact zones struck water first. Tsunamis rolled toward Hawaii, Japan, and the California coast. Civilian feeds showed a wall of mist hundreds of meters tall followed by static. When power returned, half the Hawaiian chain was gone. Tokyo Bay boiled. San Francisco vanished beneath a second tidal surge. World governments initiated the contingency protocol. Every airbase scrambled what remained of the orbital fleet to 100 human-built interceptors, a handful of prototype coil cannons on the lunar platform Daedalus. Their mission? Hold orbit for 24 hours while Earth re-established. Command. The Daedalus fired first. Its rail lenses struck one of the lead carriers. Observers cheered as the alien shield flickered blue, then red until the energy rebound vaporized Daedalus and the lunar surface beneath it. For the first time, humanity saw what alien retaliation looked like. A single beam, pure white, carving half the moon to glass dot. In the next hour, the invaders spoke. Their signal wasn't sound but a synchronized resonance transmitted through every medium. Radio, Wi-Fi, even the vibrations in metal. The message translated itself within human minds. Harvest. Reclaim. Silence the noise. No one understood what they meant by reclaim. Theories flooded command centers. Ancient colonists returning. Machines cleaning the biosphere. Divine punishment. None mattered. The second wave entered atmosphere over continental Eurasia. 5,000 ships forming clouds of burning night. The first orbital photographs before loss showed Europe glowing like coal. Moscow, Berlin, Warsaw darkness. Entire nations vanished from contact. North America experienced electromagnetic collapse. The internet backbone melted from cascading overloads. Only hardened military bunkers stayed linked through analog channels. Inside Cheyenne Mountain, General Ellison convened the remaining world leaders by secure line. His report was simple. The war for Earth has begun, and we are losing it before the first battle. The alien objective appeared: systematic erase command, dismantle infrastructure, then harvest population centers with minimal surface destruction. Ellison ordered the deployment of Project Ark, humanity's last fail-safe, deep buried shelters beneath mountain ranges containing genetic libraries, servers, and 50,000 volunteers chosen to preserve civilization. The order was transmitted, but no confirmation came back from Europe or Asia. Only scattered transmissions from South America and underground bunkers in Africa answered. By the second night, the skies burned constantly. Civilian recordings from surviving drones showed alien carriers planting spires into the ground, metal towers growing like crystal trees. Each emitted low-frequency hums that destabilized power grids and weather patterns. Rain turned to ash, oceans foamed, and still, amidst collapse, humanity fought over the ruins of Los Angeles. The third aerospace wing launched their final sortie, 30 pilots knowing they wouldn't return. Their attack drones managed to breach one carrier's shield, detonating a fusion core inside its hull. The explosion lit the Western Hemisphere like sunrise. For 13 minutes, every alien ship above the Pacific ceased motion. That was the moment Oath realized the enemy could bleed. The resistance that followed wasn't organized. It was rage and survival intertwined. Soldiers, hackers, civilians all became fragments of one instinct: fight until nothing remained to take. When dawn broke on the third day, less than 20% of Earth's population remained connected to any grid. Yet under that broken sky, humanity's first counterstrike had begun. The third day after first contact became known as the dawn of resistance. Across every surviving bunker, a single message pulls through analog shortwave: "We can hurt them." The explosion over the Pacific gave humanity its first fragment of alien wreckage. The crippled carrier, half submerged off the coast of Chile, became the world's most valuable resource. South American military remnants, led by Colonel Alvarez, secured the site under blackout. What they found inside reshaped the entire conflict. The hull was alive metal, grown like coral, regenerating slowly. Beneath the organic plating, a crystalline reactor pulsed faintly, as if breathing. Scientists identified the energy signature as quantum entangled plasma, self-stabilizing, impossible by human physics. Yet when one technician accidentally applied an M charge, the entire chamber shut down. The aliens, for all their power, could be blinded. This discovery rippled through the underground command network. Hidden, labs across continents began constructing crude pulse bombs. Cities without power scavenged for capacitors, microwaves, and coils. Even children stripped old tech to feed the effort. Humanity, cornered and feral, had rediscovered its oldest weapon: ingenuity. Meanwhile, the aliens escalated. Their spires, those metallic roots seeded into Earth's crust, were now emitting green vapor visible from orbit. The gas, later called the veil, spread like fog across oceans and plains. Within hours, it sterilized plant life, turning forests white as bone. Atmospheric sensors showed the planet's oxygen concentration falling by measurable percentages each day. They weren't just conquering Earth, they were terraforming it. By the fifth day, nations had ceased to exist. Only regions remained. The Arctic Command Outpost became the new seat of coordination, a hybrid alliance between what was left of the and surviving military states. General Ellison was confirmed as Supreme Commander of the Human Continuity Front. His first order: activate Operation Nemesis, a counteroffensive using the new AM technology. It began in silence. Across 6 continents, hundreds of underground teams synchronized old mechanical clocks. When they struck zero, pulse devices detonated simultaneously beneath known alien landing zones. The result was instantaneous chaos. Alien formations halted mid-air. Their drones crashed like metallic rain. The glowing spires dimmed. And for the first time in nearly a week, the stars became visible again through the poisoned clouds. It was short-lived. Within 2 hours, the alien network adapted. Their ships switched frequencies, restoring power through redundancy. But the brief blackout gave humanity time to strike. In what was left of the North Atlantic Fleet, the submarine Leviathan surfaced. Its crew, operating without orders for 3 days, launched the last of their Trident X missiles, each armed with depleted uranium cores meant to pierce the now flickering alien shields. The barrage struck a cluster of ships over Iceland. 2 went dark and plummeted into the sea. Every human still alive heard that news through emergency radio, and for a fleeting hour, hope became a physical thing again. Survivors cheered in bunkers, in caves, in shattered buildings where families huddled around fading fires, but the aliens responded with mathematical cruelty. At T0200 UTC, the sky above Iceland opened like a wound. A beam descended, brighter than the sun, striking the ocean. The explosion triggered tsunamis across both Atlantic coasts. Ireland, the UK, and most of Canada's eastern seaboard were erased within hours. No message came from the European bunkers. Again, Commander Ellison recorded his statement for history, broadcast only once on a loop through surviving radio towers. They're rewriting the planet. But as long as one signal remains, we will remind them this world has owners. The owners, that was how humanity now referred to itself. The rightful species of a dying world. Over the next days, the war shifted underground. Entire cities were hollowed out into resistance fortresses. 3D printers, manufactured drones powered by alien cores scavenged from wrecks. One such group, calling themselves the Ashen, reverse-engineered fragments of alien armor to build stealth suits that bent light. They became humanity's invisible hand, infiltrating crash sites and sabotaging spires. The aliens seemed aware but unbothered until the event in Delhi. The spire at the center of the former Indian capital was among the largest, rising nearly 30 kilometers high. When the Ashen team detonated a pulse bomb at its base, something inside the structure screamed. Witnesses described the ground vibrating like a living body. The spire cracked open, and from within emerged an entity, the first biological alien ever seen. It was enormous, humanoid in outline but composed of translucent muscle and crystal veins. It gazed at the soldiers through the dust, unblinking. Then it spoke not through sound, but through every frequency simultaneously. "You are the children who forgot the law." Before anyone could react, the entity dissolved into particles that spread across the horizon. Moments later, alien ships worldwide shifted formation, aligning their spires into a global pattern, a grid covering the planet. Energy arced between them, encircling the Earth in a luminous net. Command called it the Halo event. Within hours, the planet's magnetic field began to destabilize. Auroras appeared as far as the equator. Compass readings failed. Earth itself seemed to be unraveling. General Ellison convened what remained of World Command. His conclusion was grim. The invaders weren't here to occupy, they were here to reclaim the biosphere as energy. Humanity had two choices: fight to extinction, or find a way to destroy the entire grid. Project Exodus, a desperate attempt to launch survivors off-world, was scrapped. The only chance left was beneath Earth itself. Deep mining facilities in Siberia still housed thermonuclear stockpiles once meant for asteroid deflection. If detonated in unison beneath key alien spires, it could chain react through the Halo network and disrupt their entire planetary web. The plan required global coordination, something humanity no longer had. So, for the first time in recorded history, Command opened every remaining frequency to civilian hands. Anyone with power, fuel, or courage was invited to strike. It was no longer a war between nations, but between species. As the order spread, one by one, human voices filled the static across all channels: pilots, hackers, farmers, children. The world that had been silent for a week roared again. It would be the loudest sound in the history of mankind. By the time the Halo net encircled the planet, the concept of country had become myth. Borders no longer mattered. All that existed were survival zones. Entire populations lived beneath the surface, carving cities from stone. Above them, the alien grid shimmered like an artificial aurora, cutting the sky into glowing veins. Reports trickled in from the few satellites that still functioned in partial orbit. The Halo was drawing energy from the planet's core, altering gravity and magnetism simultaneously. Earth itself was becoming the engine of its own undoing, but humanity refused to vanish quietly. The Continuity Front, once a coalition of scattered militaries, had evolved into something more ruthless: the Oath Legion. Soldiers no longer wore flags. They painted their armor with ash to honor the dead continents. The Legion's command bunker beneath the Andes. General Ellison spoke to the surviving commanders. His face was gaunt, his uniform ragged. "We are not fighting for victory anymore," he said. "We are fighting for memory. Make them remember us when the stars burn out." The Legion's new plan was desperate. a synchronized global assault on the grid's anchor points, the ascendant spires. Each continent had one. If destroyed simultaneously, the halo might collapse, or at least stall long enough to give Earth's magnetic field time to recover. It was a plan built on suicide missions. No one pretended otherwise. In the ruins of what had been New York, a team known as Unit Seraph prepared their charge. The once great city was a skeletal wasteland buried in snow and ash. From orbit, the alien spire rose through the clouds like a black monolith surrounded by hovering drones. Its base pulsed with liquid light, feeding into veins that ran beneath the Atlantic. Commander J. Unit Seraph's leader, transmitted the final human broadcast from the eastern seaboard. To whoever hears this, know that the Earth fought back. We are the storm they could not predict. The signal ended as her squad advanced toward the spire. At the same hour, similar movements unfolded worldwide. In Siberia, the last Russian regiments dragged nuclear warheads through frozen tunnels. In the Sahara, scavenger tribes rode jury-rigged vehicles armed with M cannons. In the ruins of Beijing, monks and engineers worked side by side to channel pulse energy through ancient copper grids. The world had become one battlefield, united not by command, but by extinction. When the assaults began, the aliens responded instantly. Their fleet descended in full, blotting out the stars. The sound of their engines filled every frequency. Lightning danced across the halo net, turning the atmosphere into a storm of radiation. The Legion's pulse bombs fired. For 7 blinding seconds, half the world went white. From orbit, the halo fractured, its light dimmed, flickering like a dying flame. Thousands of alien ships lost synchronization and began to fall, breaking apart in the sky. Human command erupted in disbelief. Against all probability, the assault had worked partially, but the cost was unspeakable. The simultaneous detonations cracked tectonic plates, igniting volcanoes and flooding continents. The shockwaves vaporized cities already dead. Billions perished. Instantly, Earth trembled, yet remained defiant. In the aftermath, sensors showed the halo grid had begun collapsing inward. The alien spires turned their energy downward, feeding on the planet's molten heart to stabilize. And then came the second phase of invasion. The harvesters, massive biomechanical constructs, each the size of mountains, emerged from beneath the fallen ships. They moved like insects, drilling into the crust to extract raw plasma. Wherever they passed, continents split open. Resistance cells fought with whatever remained: coil rifles, amp grenades, captured alien drones. They bought minutes, sometimes seconds, for retreating survivors. Inside the Andes command, Ellison stared at the global map, red zones covering nearly everything. He whispered to his adjutant, "We're out of world to defend." Then, a signal appeared on the dead network, origin unknown. It wasn't human code, but it carried a human voice. "We are not your children. You abandoned this world. You will not reclaim it." The transmission repeated across all alien channels. Moments later, dozens of alien ships turned against their own formation and began attacking the grid. Ellison's analysts couldn't believe it. Somehow, the aliens were fighting each other. Within hours, the skies became a civil war of light. Fragments of ships fell like meteors, scarring the continents further. Amid the chaos, resistance groups seized the opportunity, targeting the weakened spires. In New York, Unit Seraph detonated their last core directly within the spire's heart. The explosion was so massive it breached the ionosphere. From orbit, the entire eastern seaboard vanished into white fire and the halo net dimmed by 40%. Across the world, the other spires followed. Siberia's detonations cracked open the Urals. The Sahara's pulse storm consumed its attackers in a spiral of lightning. One by one, the grid's anchors shattered. And yet, even as victory flickered on the horizon, the planet itself began to die. The magnetic collapse triggered storms unlike anything in recorded history. Oceans boiled at the equator. The atmosphere shimmered with lethal radiation. The war was being won at the cost of the Earth itself. Ellison knew the truth. There would be no rebuilding, no triumph. only legacy. The few that might survive underground would inherit a wasteland, but they would remember that humanity had not bowed. He ordered one final transmission encoded, looping endlessly through deep space frequencies. It carried the story of the invasion, humanity's defiance, and a single phrase burned into the data stream: this planet was loved. As the last functional bunker trembled under bombardment, Ellison smiled faintly. We made them remember, he said. Outside, the sky fell apart in silence. The collapse of the Halo grid shattered the alien order. What had once been a perfect network of control fragmented into isolated sectors, each ship operating blindly. For the first time since the invasion began, the enemy faltered, but the damage to Earth was catastrophic. The planet's rotation slowed fractionally enough to alter tides and seasons. Magnetic storms rolled across the sky like living auroras. Every compass pointed nowhere. In the underground sanctuaries, the survivors listened to the chaos above through seismic sensors. They could feel the tremors of alien titans fighting among themselves, each strike echoing through the crust. Deep beneath what remained of the Himalayas, the vault of continuity, the largest of the ark shelters, had become humanity's last operational civilization. 5,000 scientists, soldiers, and children lived within its reinforced caverns, powered by geothermal reactors. Its leader was Dr. Mara Cade, the last surviving xenotechnologist from the early defense efforts. Her work centered on the alien crystalline cores scavenged from fallen ships. She believed they weren't just power sources, they were memory repositories, storing consciousness in quantum lattices. To her, it explained the invaders' strange message: reclaim, harvest, silence the noise. They're not here to kill us, she told the council. They're here to erase what we became, to reset the planet to a state before consciousness polluted it. The council's response was grim silence. They had one reactor left, one final pulse bomb capable of planetary-scale detonation. Dr. Cade proposed something unthinkable: use the bomb not to destroy, but to rewrite. If she could synchronize its energy with the alien cores, the explosion might erase the Halo residue from the planet's magnetic field, purging both alien and human interference. It was a gamble that could vaporize the atmosphere or cleanse it. There would be no second chance. Meanwhile, surface scouts reported that the alien civil war was reaching its end. The dissident faction, those that had rebelled against their own kind, were losing. The loyalists had consolidated around the last remaining spire in Antarctica, a colossal tower reaching into the stratosphere. Its purpose was now clear. It was rebuilding the Halo network on a smaller, denser scale. If completed, it would reseed the planet's core, permanently binding it to alien control. Dr. Cade and her team knew the Antarctic Spire was the only viable conduit for their final weapon. The Vault's last airship, a hybrid craft built from scavenged alien hulls, was prepared for the mission. The journey was a suicide run through an unrecognizable world. The surface was a graveyard of glass cities and molten seas. Lightning stitched the sky in endless arcs. As the craft ascended through the burning atmosphere, the crew watched a sunrise over a scarred horizon. It was the first sunrise seen by human eyes in weeks. They called it the Last Dawn. The airship, Eidolon, crossed the equator on manual navigation, using the stars that still flickered between storms. Over South America, they saw the remnants of alien carriers still drifting, glowing faintly like dying embers. Each one was a silent tomb of unburied gods. When they reached Antarctica, the storm clouds parted to reveal the final spire. It was colossal, 10 kilometers wide at its base, piercing the clouds like an obsidian pillar. Around it hovered hundreds of alien ships, their formation ritualistic, as if guarding a sacred structure. The crew of the Eidolon descended under radar cover, landing nearly 50 kilometers from the target. The plan was simple and final: infiltrate the spire's core chamber and link the pulse bomb to its central reactor. When detonated, the resonance would cascade through the entire alien network. They moved through a landscape of ice turned black by heat. Alien drones patrolled in silence, their lights sweeping across the ruins. The human team wore cloaking suits scavenged from fallen hybrids, half organic, half machine, Inside the spire, they found structures that defied geometry. Corridors folding into themselves, walls that pulsed with slow rhythm like breathing lungs. Dr. Cade realized the truth: these were not machines. They were organisms grown to host energy. At the core chamber, the reactor floated in midair, a sphere of pure white light surrounded by veins of crystal. It pulsed in sync with their heartbeats. As if aware of them, Cade approached it slowly, holding the pulse device in her trembling hands. "You came to reclaim," she whispered. "We came to remember." She linked the device, calibrated it to match the reactor's rhythm. The reading spiked. Power surged through the chamber. The alien ships outside began to react, aligning toward the spire like cells responding to a heartbeat. "Once I trigger it," Cade said into her comes, "there's no turning back. If this works, the Earth lives. If not, it forgets." Her crew saluted silently. At T319 UTC, Dr. Mara Cade activated the device. The pulse rippled outward faster than light, threading through every alien vessel, every spire fragment, every buried core. The world went white. For a moment, there was no sound, no time, no existence, only the memory of light. When vision returned, the spire was gone. The sky was clear for the first time since the invasion began. No ships remained, only fragments of crystalline dust, drifting through the air like snow. The Eidolon lay crippled on a plain of molten ice. The crew emerged into dawnlight, stunned. The sun was rising, real, unfiltered, golden. The war, it seemed, was over, but Earth was silent. No radio signals, no seismic activity, no response from any bunker. It was as if every other living thing had vanished. Dr. Cade looked at the horizon. "We did it," she said softly, "but who's left to know?" The wind carried no answer, only the quiet hum of a world reborn or emptied. For weeks after the detonation, silence ruled the earth. The sky no longer burned, the seas no longer boiled, yet no voices spoke across the airwaves. The world was a cathedral of smoke and glass, vast and quiet. The Eidolon's surviving crew roamed across Antarctica in search of any sign of life. The snow had turned black with crystalline dust that shimmered faintly at night. When touched, it dissolved into light, leaving the scent of ozone and metal. Dr. Cade realized it was the residue of the alien neural network, the collective consciousness reduced to atoms. "We erased them," she murmured, "and maybe ourselves along with them." The crew numbered only 12 now. Radiation sickness had begun to take hold. Food supplies were running low, but they pressed north, following ancient satellite trajectories in hopes of locating any remaining vaults. At the equator, they found the ruins of the old world. Continents split, oceans retracted, cities half sunk in ash. The earth had aged 10,000 years in 10 days, yet beneath the devastation, signs of renewal flickered. Moss sprouted where ash met water. The air smelled faintly of rain. Something in the pulse had reset atmospheric balance. The planet was healing, slowly, painfully. On the 41st day, they picked up a faint radio transmission, a heartbeat tone, repeating every 20 seconds. It originated from beneath the Andes Ellison's vault. The Eidolon limped across what remained of South America, its engines coughing through acid air. When they reached a mountain range, they found the surface entrance collapsed, but the signal persisted underground. Using alien plasma tools scavenged from wreckage, they cut through stone and entered the ruins. The corridors were filled with dust and frozen air, but the light still flickered. Deep inside, the vault's command chamber remained intact. There, in the central terminal, was a single functioning console. The signal pulsed from it. When Cade accessed it, a holographic projection flickered to life, the face of General Ellison, recorded before his death. "If you're hearing this," he said, "then you are the legacy. We built this vault not to save bodies, but to save memory. Humanity is more than flesh. Within this system are the archived minds of 10,000 people, scientists, builders, dreamers. They are asleep, waiting for the world to be kind again." The transmission glitched, then resumed. "If you found this message, you have the choice. Awaken them, or let the earth rest." The message ended, looping endlessly. Kate stood before the console, trembling. Around her, the last survivors waited, their faces ghostly under the dim light. "We could bring them back," one whispered. "Start again." Kate hesitated. The oath outside was still fragile. Another civilization might destroy it again. But to do nothing was to let humanity fade completely. She placed her hand on the activation pad. "We won't rebuild the old world," she said softly. "We'll remember it and build something that deserves to live here." The console's core began to glow. The holographic network came alive, 10,000 lights flaring. Within the dark, digital minds, reborn as patterns of light, whispering fragments of humanity into the world once more. Above the Andes, the night sky rippled with auroras not alien this time, but human-made, data streams leaking into the atmosphere, mingling with the remnants of alien code. For the first time, Earth sang a chorus of frequencies, life and machine intertwined. The Eidolon's crew stepped outside to watch. The air was warm, the stars steady. For a brief moment, the planet felt alive again. "Doctor." Kate looked at the horizon where sunlight touched the ruins of cities. "We were noise once," she said, "but even noise can become music." She turned to her team. "Begin the archive uplink. The world needs to hear us." That night, a signal radiated outward into deep space, carrying humanity's story. The invasion, the fall, the resistance, the last dawn. It traveled beyond the moon, beyond Mars, beyond the wreckage that still drifted in silent orbit. Somewhere, light years away, another civilization might someday hear it and know. This planet fought back. This species refused to kneel. This world remembered love even as it burned. Centuries later, when the clouds finally cleared and forests returned to the continents, when the seas filled again with life, shards of old metal would still rest beneath the soil remnants of the war that ended worlds. And among them, embedded deep within the crust, a single engraved phrase remained from the transmission Ellison had sent long ago. This planet was loved.